down-to-earth gathering. I'm here basically to serve you. And what does that mean? Well, once a week I jump on into this Zoom group and others join me, other Positive Prime professional leaders who are certified. So sometimes we have them as special guests. But it's really just an opportunity for you to ask some questions about Positive Prime and indeed to maybe really focus in on one issue you'd like to address in your own life, and I can see how I can help. So I'm not psychic. I am an energy healer. I am not a psychologist, but I have been coaching people for quite a few decades now. And so I've had several thousand deep and meaningful relationships with clients, guiding them. It's pretty fair to say that I'll be able to at least suggest to you the name of a session that's perfectly suited to what it is that you really want as an outcome. There are other resources that I can also guide you to if you want to understand how Positive Prime works, why it works, scientifically as well as esoterically or spiritually. Barb, ask any question you like. Shirley, Linda, Sam, and just in case you're wondering, I turn up here every week, and so sometimes we have the same person every week for a couple of weeks. It's almost like group coaching or group guidance. I don't know what else to call it, but anyway, here I am.
That's a good question.
Beautiful.
So first of all, I want to understand, I just joined and just starting with this. So this is really exciting to me. To put our own photos in and things that we do, do you need to do that each session that you're going to watch?
Yes.
Okay.
So one of the things that I do is I actually really heavily personalize a super mix, and I watch that super mix. So all of our subscribers have access to a super mix. Let me just show you where that super mix is. Let me screen share for a moment, and then I'm going to give you this example, and then you'll understand why it's the case. So there is a session called Romance and Intimacy, and I created it for people who really want to enrich their romantic relationships, their monogamous relationships with man and woman. So it's very focused on men and women, not women and women or men and men. And there are these evocative images. So in terms of personalizing, we actually do recommend that you always personalize with photos that are meaningful and significant to you, so that your identity attaches your energy to the essence of the messages in the session, right? Well, you might have lots of photographs of your children, and you might not want photographs of your children in a session that's all about romance and intimacy. That might seem a little bit odd, right? Unless, of course, you want to create more children with that romance and intimacy. So there are also sessions, it might be like Super Sales is another session. Well, in Super Sales, I've actually put photographs of my favorite clients. And that's because I want to send a message to the universe, and I want my angels to hear and for God to guide me to the kinds of clients who I'm really aligned with, and who it's very natural for me to feel like a compassionate care towards. And there are some clients who are just pains in the neck, right? And I just don't need them. I just don't need very many of them. And so I don't have any of those kinds of photos. So I think about, who are the clients I love serving? And I have photographs of them in my Super Sales session. Lots of people who are in direct sales and network marketing, they do the same. They might have their leaders, of their teams in photographs of them in that session, but that might not be appropriate in a session called Fabulously Fit, because in Fabulously Fit, you might want photographs of your children or your spouse, or indeed you might be wanting to go on a vacation and you want to be able to wear swimmers on that vacation. So you might have photographs just of yourself. So that's really the answer to that. But let me show you where a super session is, because Super sessions are combinations. So you can all see that this is my screen here at the moment. And over here in this area, you can actually, in the drop down area, you can go and choose lots of sessions that aren't available on the platform. I'll give you an example of why this might be necessary. So here's a super mix, modulating your immune system. So let's just say right now, while there's a spike of weirdness in the world, you might want to really focus on being fit and healthy and strong and flexible and resilient, and you want to be able to bounce forward and up and so forth. So you might want to watch this one called Modulating Your Immune System. And so if I watch this particular session, it literally is a combination of 5 other sessions mixed and merged into one. And so it's not like I'm choosing 5 different sessions one after the other. I can actually watch this for a period of time. So let me just show you. It'll take a long time to load because it is a super mix. And a super mix is every single time it plays, it's going to reshuffle all of the cards so that you get associative conditioning and you get neuroplasticity effects. So they're ways that your brain needs novelty from a neuroscience perspective. And so if every single time you see all of the images and the words in a different order, your brain actually is refreshed by the experience of a positive prime session. Right? And it's actually very important from a science point of view. It actually facilitates and enhances change. So when we want to transform, part of the ingredients about successful change that is enduring, so change that produces results that lasts, it has to have these parts of the ingredients. And one of those is novelty. So you're from a brain perspective, this is what your brain needs. Otherwise it can't and doesn't and won't change. And even if it looks like it's changing or you are changing, it's not permanent, or it doesn't permeate the areas of your life. So anyway, so there's lots of aspects to why transmutational transformation is either successful or unsuccessful, and you just got to take it from me. But one of the things that you need is neuroplasticity and associative conditioning. So anyway, in this particular session, if I slow it down to speed 1 for a moment, let's go to full screen. This is various sessions mixed together. And so bear with me while I'm going to move some of these controls on my screen so I can see a little bit better. So see, this is Sybil Baker's session. And this one is Donna Harmony Jones' session. And so these 2 sessions are in there, and I can watch a little bit of one and a little bit of another if I've only got a short period of time. Oh, we'll just wait and see what is the next session that shows up. I might go to speed 2 because we don't have all day. And the other sessions that are in this particular super mix, and then we can talk about other super mixes if you like. Oh, so it comes up as Sybil's. So that's a photo of me. And that's Donna's, that's a photo of me. Oh, and Betty Norland. Betty Norland's session is actually included in this one. And let's leave it with those 3, but I just want to show you something else that's about this functionality, right? So I'm just going to go back to small screen. So let's just say I have only 10 minutes today, and I want to watch this entire session inside 10 minutes. I can choose 10 minutes. Now, what's fascinating about how spectacularly cool our technology is that our tech is now measuring the speed of my internet, i.e. my connection from my device via the Wi-Fi to my service within my own environment. It's also detecting the speed of the actual internet carrier's capacity. And it's also measuring the speed from the Positive Prime servers, which are mostly with Amazon Web Services, AWS. And so if the speed was really slow, it would automatically slow this down, and you'd see this little character coming up named Poppy. So let's just speed it up to 3 minutes, and we'll see if Poppy starts to show up. Now, some people say, oh, see, this is actually telling me that it's buffering at the moment. And there's a bit of an issue because it's not going to play inside that 3 minutes, even though it's trying. And so if that happens to me, I basically will go down and choose 15 minutes and I will get it to play a little bit more slowly. And so one of the questions that people always ask me is, how does the speed influence the way that we can actually manifest miracles and bring about incredible change and go through dramatic healing? Well, at speed, you're not arguing with the images or the words. And so you're not resisting and you're not rejecting, because that which we resist persists. And so these messages are now bypassing a part of your brain that usually stops you from taking in anything that's unfamiliar. Usually this is from the reptilian part of your brain where in ancient times, you actually needed protection. And so if anything was unfamiliar to you, you had to automatically assume it was going to harm you or kill you. And so you either froze in fear or you fled. So there was fleeing. So you ran away, and or indeed, there's another couple of reactions that are part of that very basic way that we react to something that's unfamiliar. And some of it's around fear and anger, and those kinds of ways that our brains then close down, particularly with anger. Our brains actually close down and we don't become resourceful. And so what Positive Prime does by showing you at speed all of these different images is that it's actually bypassing what we call the conscious critical judgment factors of the prefrontal cortex of your brain. And it's allowing this goodness in. And that goodness is actually, it's almost like it's bathing and nurturing and caring for every cell in your body. And it's like the environment that you're existing in. So sometimes if you exist in an environment that's very hostile, or society where there's a lot of bullying and a lot of anger, as there is these days, a lot of people have lost hope, particularly given current conditions. What's fascinating is we're all existing in an environment that is mostly negative. And what Positive Prime does is it provides this environment that your perceptive awareness is then bathed in, that's really very wholesome for you. I don't know if that was a good explanation. Tell me, did you understand what I was saying, Barb, or San? I can see that you're new, or Angela. Was that helpful?
That was helpful for me, Kim. Yeah. I still don't understand, like, first of all the options. There's so many options. And so I'm like, should I focus on one thing or should I go around, keep circulating? And then I don't understand how focusing on the one thing, like I'm interested in your procrastination. You sent an email about that. And procrastination is something I would love to eliminate. And
okay.
How do you?
All right. I'm going to answer that question because, it's very common. Should I watch one session all the time or lots of different sessions every single day? I would say yes and. All right, so let me just quickly screen share so that we can get everybody up to speed. So let's just say procrastination transformed into proactivity is the session that you want to watch. I would suggest to you that you watch this at least once a day for at least 100 days. Now, having said that, I do think it's very important that if you've got a particular issue that you're focused on, that you do personalize it. And so you definitely want to click on personalize. I've got 8,000 plus images in my personal folder, so it takes a little while, but let's just see. I can select, this is me, my husband and my parents, this is my mom, and this is me, this is my beautiful niece. Anything that's really significant and meaningful to me. Cameron actually bought me some beautiful yellow roses last week and I uploaded photographs of those. Anyway, so I'm just going to now play the session now that I've selected a few. I could upload a few if I wanted to. I've uploaded photographs and this is how interesting it is. Right. I've uploaded photographs of gifts that I've been given. I suggested to someone the other day who wanted more socializing in her life and she wanted to feel more comfortable about people coming to her home to go and take a photograph of her front door open, ready to welcome in people, because your other than consciousness actually will resonate with an image like that and it'll be meaningful for you. And when you see that image show up It's integrated into a session. So it flashes amongst the standard formula of images and words. What's happening, of course, is that you're planting a seed in your other than consciousness. And that is actually then bringing about the manifestation of it. And so I need to say this about our technology. It's best if you watch every single new session slowly for the first time. Now, this says it's going to be 58 seconds. Can you see 58 minutes? Can you see that that's an hour? All of our sessions actually start at an hour, and then you can change the time. When I have the time, or when I create the time, or when I make the time, I spend as much time as possible as I can watching Positive Prime. Lots of different sessions and lots of super mixes. I would say that you slowly but surely increase the speed when you are comfortable with the messages. And what you'll actually find is that your biases will actually show up. And so sometimes we don't know that something's triggering us until we look at it and we go, you know what, I'm feeling frustrated or disappointed, or I'm feeling sad because I see all of these happy images and I'm not feeling happy at the moment. And if that's happening to you, then what I'm going to say is that you might want to make sure that you watch on speed 9 at least once a day. What will happen is your brain will see these images of these Duchenne smiles, for example, and your brain doesn't know that you're looking at a photograph of a smile. Your brain actually thinks that you're smiling. The retina in your eyes processes the photograph of smiles. Your eyes send a message to your brain, and your brain actually thinks that you are smiling. And so your brain, it actually just automatically operates in this way. It sends messages to your body, and you start to produce the hormones. Your endocrine system gets reactive to that, and you produce more serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. And then, interestingly enough, there's this cascade effect, a cause and effect, and you actually do become happier. Simply because your brain thought that you were happy, because your brain can't actually decipher the difference between something that is imagined or something that you're seeing and something that is you, right? So all you have to do is sit in front of a Positive Prime session and allow yourself to be flooded by it, allow it to flow over and through you, and it is working. Now, with respect to, let's just say this procrastination issue, because you want to become much more proactive, right? I would, if I was you, is I'd choose 3 minutes. Once you've watched it a couple of times, you feel quite comfortable about it, I'd just drop him for 3 minutes every single day on this particular session. And I do it for at least 100 days. There are some amazing stories about astronauts. Have you heard this? It's about the way that we rewire. They put these glasses on, so when they're in zero gravity and they're upside down, so that they can actually operate in that environment and they can make sense of control panels and so forth. They actually go through this process where they tape these goggles that turn everything upside down, and they see whether this person can operate completely discombobulated, like completely confused, right? Then here's the fascinating thing. They take it off and they wait to see how long before you naturally flip everything right side up in your environment. And do you know it doesn't happen instantly? You've literally rewired your brain to see upside down. Now, for some people, it takes 30 days and some people it takes 100 days. This is like actual training that our special forces go through and our astronauts go through. And so we know for a fact that we can rewire the brain. So that's scientifically been proven. And what we know is that it doesn't happen in the same pace for everyone. It depends on how strong your biases are, which is really how strong your conditioning from society has been, or your family and so forth. And what's fascinating to me is that it doesn't flip automatically back or forward, and then sometimes it takes up to 3 days for people to start to see right side up after they've taken the goggles off. Fascinating, don't you think? Have you heard of this research being done? So if you can have your brain conditioned by positive prime into believing that everything is possible, remarkable things start to happen. But you have to allow yourself the time to actually watch the session so that they're actually conditioning you. It's almost like they're shaping your lens. It's the easiest way for me to kind of describe what and why and how for positive prime. Now, I said absolutely you should watch that particular session for about 100 days. That'll get it done. But you might just notice some very interesting and surprising new ways that you're being after 30 days. Hallelujah. When I say I watch as many sessions as I can, I'll tell you there's another session that should be mixed with this one, and it's called Astonishing Actions. Because one way to get over procrastination is to be in action, right? So I'm just going to show you this. I'll go back to screen sharing. So this is still playing for me. And let's just say I just want to get out of it. I go and click on dashboard. And of course, the survey pops up. But now I want to go and do something about taking actions. And so there's The Greatest Law of Attraction by Joe Vitale. He was in the movie The Secret. And of course, there's this other one called Astonishing Actions. And so if you want to be the kind of person who literally dives into taking actions that are intentional as fast as possible, as soon as you have an inspired idea, you really need to be conditioned by the content in this particular session. Astonishing Actions, right? If you don't like the music, just literally mute it, and you can go and open up YouTube, for example. And I don't know, if you're a little bit like me, you might do this, something like binaural beats. No, not Binance Future Trading. Kind of, no, that's blockchain palaver. Binaural beats for miracles, I don't know, or manifestation or visualizing or attracting. No, how about for action? Binaural beats for action. Overcoming procrastination. Look, there's a subliminal messages binaural beats. So click that. Let me just do something up here in this share computer sound. Okay, see this share computer sound? Can you all hear that now? Go back to this folder. Take some nice big deep breaths and watch the session listening to something extraordinary available to you on YouTube. I can feel that vibration. Alrighty, let me go over to YouTube now and okay, so here's the truth, Barb. I used to be terrible at procrastination, right? I was such a perfectionist. It's almost like I was so in fear of getting it wrong, I couldn't get started. And it literally disabled me. And then I completely changed my entire character and personality around it. And if you worked with me, as my team members will tell you, procrastination is not something that I do ever. I'm the kind of person who takes as many intentional actions as fast as I possibly can, as soon as I have an inspired idea. And it's almost like, and I've explained this to people, it's like I hit a tennis ball across the net and I wait for the universe to return it. And as soon as something lands, I hit it straight back across the net as fast as I possibly can. I just keep it in play. And I've just discovered that that's a really interesting way serendipity, synchronicity, and coincidence becomes much more a part of my life because I'm in action. It doesn't need to be big actions. It's just tiny actions, tiny intentional actions. And it works. And I am so the person on our team that gets an enormous amount done in about 1/10 of the time. of everybody else. The great thing about that is if you're the kind of person who wants to work less and not more and work smarter and not harder, you have to master this. And just because I get 10 times more done in a tenth of the time as everybody else, like I 100x'd it, does not mean I need to work 8 or 12 or 16 hours a day because I've got all this extra time. No, that means I can like live. I love my work, so it is living. But I also have lots of other things that are really important to me that I love doing as well, like spending time in the garden or with my spouse or with my parents or with my friends, or, you know, like I've got 1,000 other things I could be doing. I love learning. So I love reading books. You know, I love watching TED Talks. I mean, I've got 1,000 other things I could be doing. So I just want to get it done so I can get to that. Right. Hope that helps.
Yeah, thank you, Kim. So when you talked about, like in the very beginning, watch it slowly, watch it for an hour for like a few sessions and then slow it down.
Yes, but if you've only got 15 minutes, right, just watch it slowly for 15 minutes and just X out of it, right? Let it go.
Okay.
So I very rarely have an hour. I very rarely have an hour in my day. And so I look on the weekends, often I will mirror a Positive Prime session to my smart TV. And so I'll watch it in big, and it's almost like I'm allowing 6 hours of Positive Prime to permeate the room, and from a quantum physics perspective, completely change the environment. Now, I don't do that every weekend, but sometimes I am being deliberate about creation, and I'll do that because I want to just move around in this space that has got this infinite intelligence embedded into it. I'm a bit weird and wild, right? But, you know, 1 minute is better than no minutes. And so you've really just got to listen to yourself and dive in and watch what you can, when you can, as often as you can, as much as you can, but be very gentle on yourself. Slowly but surely it adds up, it compounds. The impact definitely compounds. And so there have been periods of the last couple of years where I have watched 3 hours of Positive Prime in a day. And there have been days when I literally haven't been able to find any more than a minute here or 30 seconds here and, you know, 2 minutes there. And I've just clicked anything to flood me, because I actually know how important it is that it changes my vibration, right? It works. The science works. And so all you have to do is sit yourself in front of it and watch it, and it works. And so if something has upset me, which is often the case, like someone can send me a nasty email, and there are trolls on our social media, and some of them are, like, quite frankly, just disgusting. I'm not immune to any of that. I need to put this protective force back on myself. It's like polishing this armor. And so that's why I watch Positive Prime. And something like that happened today. Like, I picked up this email, I read it, and I thought, gosh, that's got a condescending tone to it. And I don't like that. And so I thought, what's my answer? Watch a little bit of Positive Prime and shift my vibration. I don't need to stay in the receiving or the thinking of their condescension. That's how I use it. I hope that helps. And then come next week, or maybe come in a month's time, and then, you know, you'll have some different questions. Well, what I could say to you is that we actually have Shirley and Lisa and Linda here. Linda, would you like to share a little bit? Because I'm going to show you your session, and you can actually talk about what your session's about and why. Because I think it's beautiful and rare that we have some of our coaches who are authors of their Positive Prime sessions here in attendance. And Shirley, in a minute, you can put your hand up if you would like to also talk about your session, because both of them are beautiful.
Thank you, Kim. So mine is called Start with Mindset. It matters most. My brain training has been over the last several years. learning how the brain works. It's so fascinating. And I just believe that a lot of people don't know that. They have no idea how powerful our brains are, like Kim's describing. And I believe that when people understand that, they will create a different life. What I believe is that they have no idea that they have power. And once they learn some of this, it's like, oh, I can change things. Just like Kim said, you read an email that kind of gets you, off in a thing. You don't have to stew in that. You can make the choice, to decide a little bit differently about that. And so that's been my mission, is to teach people even simple of that you have power. This is how the brain works through the reticular activating system. Here's an awesome tool here. I call it the easy button to do what you want in the brain, to have it done more easily for you, because it is a nonstop, constant thing, especially now with all the bombarding negative messages that we receive everywhere, because technology is such that we can do it 24/7. So 24/7 is what we're being bombarded. Our bodies were not created for that, right? So we have to take proactive action to go, okay, let's not succumb to that. Let's do what we can to, make our lives different by creating positivity, thinking differently, learning all the tricks that the brain does. And, Kim does an excellent job at explaining how the brain works and the mind and all the different pieces. So coming on these calls as often as you can, like Kim said, you have this question now, but 3 weeks from now, you'll be a different you with another question and be ready for more information. So definitely keep coming. Kim, I do have a question for you, because we know that it has been proven that 3 minutes of positive prime can have a 6 to 8 hour positive effect. And so here's my question, but I assume it's the 3 minutes of a regular session and it goes pretty quick. It's not just 3 minutes like now, you've got it pretty slow. If I sit here and put my watch on for 3 minutes, this isn't necessarily what was tested as having to. Okay, answer for me. Thank you.
Yeah, I love the question. It's a very smart question, Linda. And so the testing that we had to do around its efficacy so that we were approved to be included in the Oprah Winfrey Network Science of Happiness course was actually on Speed 4, right?
Wow.
And so I'm actually showing this at Speed 4 right now. And this is your beautiful session. And all that was done were the participants in the research study were shown 3 minutes. And they were shown Speed 4. And they, interestingly enough, were tested 8 hours later for comprehension as well, for the messages in the session. Now we've got to do more research on the executive functioning of the brain and positive prime and the way that it helps with comprehension, retention, and recall from a learning perspective. That's like layer 2 to 10 of research around positive prime. But does it have an impact that positively primes your brain? Yes, inside 3 minutes, and yes, at Speed 4.
Cool, good to know. I was never clear about that. Now I am. So I can totally tell my people, 3 minutes a day, Speed 4, you can do it every day.
Yeah.
3 times a day if you want. Watch it slower to step into the pictures and, and that. But everyone can find 3 minutes a day. Seriously.
I totally agree with you. And do you know the funny thing is that when we understand that we are worthy and deserving, I'm going to show you something else. When I'm just going to stop it as if I'm going to go back to the dashboard, right? And I'm going to literally tell people how to get to here. So Linda Camden, start with mindset. So if I go to play this session, remember what I said, it's going to default 60 minutes. And so I always wanted for the world to basically watch at least 15 minutes of Positive Prime a day. I've got a lot of intuitive reasons for that, not scientific, right? So it was a pleasant surprise, very pleasant surprise, that you can actually be positively primed inside 3 minutes. See, I didn't believe it to be possible inside 5 minutes or 15 minutes. But one of the things about working with Sean Acor was that he was the one that convinced me that corporate America will not buy an intervention in a training and development setting that is 15 minutes per employee because of the cost of employees per hour, right? And he said the time and motion studies won't stack up. If it takes longer than 3 to 5 minutes, you won't get adoption. And so I'll tell you, I literally held my breath like, oh my God, what if there's no change inside 3 to 5 minutes? And so you cannot believe how like I was like the relief when something extraordinary, absolutely phenomenal, remarkable, and I mean those big words, when it happens inside 3 minutes. The rest of that story is when we first started to explore whether Positive Prime was something that's worth expanding and scaling and pouring millions of dollars into developing and making available to millions of people on the planet, I'll tell you what's really fascinating. In science, there are other interventions that positively prime your brain, right? And can do inside 3 minutes, but they don't have a long-term effect. And so it's almost like the Holy Grail that this lasts for 6 to 8 hours, because I could tell you to eat apple pie. The sugar in that will literally attach to these receptors in your brain that will make your brain look like it's got the broaden and build effect of happening. Like it actually looks like your brain is firing and there's like this theatrical, spectacular thunderstorm with, you know, wonderful lightning strikes, which is what happens when our areas of our brain are alive and vibrant, particularly in the areas for creativity and the areas for decision making. And so people want to be positively priming themselves because you make more accurate decisions faster when you're in this state. You're actually also scanning your environment naturally for opportunities. So you want to be in a positively primed state. Well, you can get there through sugar, but the spike is extremely short-lived and you get an equal effect on the down. And I don't want the world to have anything that is like a roller coaster. How about we have equilibrium? How about we have balance? Is there a way to positively prime the brain in a healthy way rather than promote people eating sugar? Right? Yeah, the answer is positive prime. And so what's fascinating is that I was blessed with Sean and his wife Michelle's interest in positive prime because there's a long-term effect. And they said to me, from a value point of view, there was nothing else that they had come across. Nothing on the planet exists that has a long-term effect from a scientific point of view that lasts 6 to 8 hours. Even things like paracetamol have a 4-hour effect. And then you know how they tell you to take more paracetamol every 4 hours? There are very few things in life, very few things we can do that you can scientifically prove has an effect 6 to 8 hours later. That's what's special about positive prime. Well, that's one of the things that's special about positive prime. Okay, so next question. Shirley, do you want to talk for a sec? Okay,
Sure.
unmute yourself. Woo!
Hi there.
Hey!
How are you all? Yeah, my session is Love to Be You, Love Living. And essentially the idea behind it was working with youth and their families, and the transitions, you know, especially the older youth and whatnot. getting off into either college or whatever they're doing, helping them to really understand how to pick, how to choose, and to have a positive attitude towards whatever it is. And so my statements are, a lot of them are very short, very to the point. And I really wanted it to show both families, how they can come together, and then how anyone can really just love their life, just, find what is their passion. And that's, and just working with the youth and their families is pretty much what got me started on this, and doing my own session.
I love that, Shirley. So tell me, why is this important to you? What have you noticed? What insights do you have about life and about people and families and so forth, that when they truly love being themselves, what happens?
Well, they just really bloom. I mean, I have 3 boys, and they're grown now, but in raising them, and when they were all teenagers, it was amazing to see how many of their friends really didn't know what they wanted to do, and how either their families may not have been quite as supportive, or they felt trapped in like a family business. I live in a small town in Alaska, a lot of fishing families and whatnot, and they might feel trapped in staying with the fishing, even if they don't really want to, or their families might really be pushing them to do something else, and go to college or whatever, when they really don't want to do that. So just, I found that the ones that were able to be given the permission to find what they really have a passion in, really just bloomed, and the families actually, once they realized and worked together on it, that it just seemed like everybody got along better, and everybody was just happier in what they were doing. And so it was like, I've worked with scouts a lot, 3 boys, so Boy Scouts of America, and 2 of my boys are Eagle Scouts, and just in the exploration of so many different things through scouting was great. And so when they found their passion, and even my youngest son, I mean, he's 20, what is he now? 23, and he's just now finding his passion. But I allowed him that ability to just explore different things without, trying to push him in any particular area. And he's really finding, he's finding his love, and he's been enjoying, doing well through life, just kind of getting by, but having a good time in life. And now he's finding his actual niche, and it's just so great to see. So that's where, just seeing this, I just, just working with kids and their families.
I love that. I love that. And so before we wrap this up, Shirley, a couple of words from you on what Positive Prime has meant for you. What have you actually noticed in yourself, about yourself, or what has anybody else noticed about you that you think is because of Positive Prime?
Well, one most definite thing is definitely gotten more confident. In fact, a couple of years ago, before I was really into it, I would never have talked to anybody on anything. I probably would have kept my camera off the whole time, just listened in. I love to learn. But I started actually watching the confidence ones. There's actually, I got to the point where there were 3 different confidence ones. I was watching every single day, every morning. I would watch all 3 of them. And it was after I actually personalized them that it really almost became addictive. That I really wanted to watch them every morning. And I'd have my iPad next to my bed, and that was the first thing I did in the morning. And within, I would say within about a month or maybe 2 months, people in some of the groups that I'm in started noticing a difference, and I started noticing a difference where I was actually, coming up and talking more and putting in my 2 cents and everything. And it just started that way. So
That means
was
a lot to you.
yes, that was one of the biggest changes. And now I'm working on a program, a book and a program with a group of life coaches that so I'm starting to figure out some new pictures to personalize to bring that into fruition.
That sounds fantastic. All right, well, there are some other sessions then if you're bringing something to birth. Let's look at some creative ones. So there is this great session that you can watch before you go to sleep. Shirley, I love your session. I truly believe that loving ourselves is, a mission we all need to be on. Falling in love with ourselves again and again and again and again and again, allowing ourselves to understand that we are truly beautiful gifts. We've got talents and strengths we need to share with the world. And there is this session called A Blissful Sleep, A Creative Mind by Jayanne. And it's a beautiful session. So if you would like for your other than consciousness to be working for you whilst you're sleeping and creating, then I would definitely watch this particular session. Jen's session about healing and creativity is also fantastic. So if you're in a creative mode, you're producing something, you're birthing a project, then this particular session, healing and creativity, I think is really important, really important. A lot of people also, I'm going to say this, they have some difficulty around mistakes that they've made in the past, and they feel like they're not really deserving of having a project be super successful. And so I know it sounds like an odd suggestion, but I think one of the sessions that you could watch every single day along with procrastination, for example, would be fulfilled forgiveness. I have often found in all of the coaching or guidance or energy work that I've done with people who've gone through a divorce, they can't forgive themselves that they actually ever fell in love with the person they now can no longer spend any time with, right? Or people who pursue network marketing opportunities end up having this irky energy inside of themselves because they haven't forgiven themselves for making the best choice that they could have made at the time that they made it, given who they were and the resources that they had and the motivations that were existent at the time. Right. And so there is this theme around a lot of the healing work that I've been doing that's forgiveness centric, and mostly forgiveness towards ourselves and not others. And I think it makes us a lot more compassionate even in our relationships when we're super compassionate for ourselves. It doesn't excuse us. So a lot of people will think that in forgiving yourself, you're not being accountable anymore, or it somehow negates your need for morality or being ethical or courteous or polite. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I do think that there's a lot of forgiveness work that all of us needs to do at various points in our lives. And often you'll find that it has an energy that gives you the ability to surrender and let go, which actually gives you the opportunity for flow. So that might be worthwhile for you. You've all been hanging in there. Usually these weekly sessions are about 30 minutes. I've gone a little over this time. Do come back next week or the week after, or whenever it is that you feel. I'm here for you. I love being here for you. And I just really want you to positively prime yourself a lot between now and then. Mwah. Was that helpful? Was it worth coming to today? Yes, I love those. Thank you for nodding.
Yeah.
Thank you,
Up and
Kim.
down. Oh, thank you. Much
It's
love.
amazing.
Take care.
Thank you.
All right.
Good night.
Positively
Bye.
prime us for the week. Thank you.
Beautiful. Thank you. Ciao.